Hello. It's so good to be back with you. I would like to do a little postscript about the session that I had Jeanne join me last time. And it's more about a follow-up that happened on another podcast, not about Jeanne, but about this subject of, are we the chooser, which we've all been for sure trained to believe we are. Matter of fact, we all think we are. We all behave as though we are. And it's a very new subject for some people to even hear there could be a question. And I really tried in that video with Jeanne to present the ideas. I'm not sure how great a job I did because the mind can't understand this. So I want to tell you about a podcast. These two men, Brian Tom O'Connor and Jonathan Robinson, do a podcast called Awareness Explorers. And I was fortunate enough to be a guest on Explorer number 152. And it was a wonderful experience. And these guys take these ideas like free choice and non-doership, which really means destiny like weather. What about life is actually beyond us? And I want to share from not the one where I was the guest host with them, that was number 152, but they released last Saturday 154. And since I was on the podcast, I've had the great, exciting and deep experience of emailing back and forth with Brian Tom O'Connor. We both care deeply about the particular words used. We get very excited, I think both of us, to find a new word that works for us or works for people. And so we had, since my guest appearance, we had some very deep exchanges on my phrase, interwoven destinies. He wanted to know more about that. That's a phrase I coined. And so I suggested that those two incredible men, incredible because they play with these ideas, which gets around the mind. You'll notice if you listen to the episode I did with Jeanne, she was a wonderful guest and she's heard these ideas before. And so she did relax. But anybody who hadn't heard these ideas before or heard them and pushed them away, I probably didn't make very much progress getting through. Why even talk about this? I want to say one thing about this. It makes a huge difference in the quality of your life when you're evaluating what happened, when you're evaluating your behavior, someone else's behavior. I don't want to get caught talking to the mind again. So I want to tell you about this podcast, and I'd love for you to watch it. It's the last one, their newest one, episode 154. And why I love it is that they acknowledged that you don't have to choose. But if you'd be willing to try on the ideas and see the difference in your experience, you might have a huge opening for the rest of your life, not just for this moment. So let me tell you one thing that they did that I've never heard before. And they described the outer world where we've all been trained in doership. And we must. You cannot play in the outer world without knowing good and bad, right and wrong, yours and mine. And you need to play in this world, you need a membership card of being the doer and being responsible. That's how we have laws. That's how you get along in the world. No question. So everybody listening to this has had the training. We know how to blame ourselves. We know how to shame ourselves. We know how to try to fix ourselves. We know that we, according to the outer world, need to improve, and so on. So does everyone else. And then we're constantly involved with fixing ourselves. Is it tiring? Yes. But we don't have another answer until we step into what they did was don't try to choose but don't mix levels. And I love this. So there's the level of the outer world. Don't get caught taking someone else's car and say, I'm not the doer. It's not going to fly, right? And it's not going to work with anyone else or yourself. But let's say, well, let me be real. I learned all of this in India. And the teacher said, you cannot know with your mind which is true, whether there's free choice, because we will all feel like we're the chooser. And we will think we're the chooser. It's my thought, my feeling, my action. That's how we're wired in this body. But ultimately, we can't know if there was a larger energy like weather pushing us. We can't know because we feel it one way. So when I came home from India, I thought of the teacher's last words, which were, since we can't know, try on each interpretation. So we're not talking about our actions in the world. When we act in the world, we're going to be acting from a separate person. I want a creamsicle. I want a steak. I need to save money to buy the car. These are the world's terms. We're going to be coming from what is perceived to be a separate person. We're all in the same. Nobody's higher there. Now, what the teacher said is when you come back afterwards and interpret it, that's when you in the West hurt yourself. He didn't exactly say that, but that's what that's how I understood it. So I was a practicing psychotherapist at the time, and I went into a session when I came home, did my session, and afterwards, I used to be very, very perfectionistic about my behavior, about my thoughts, much like many of you. And I said, why did I say that? And the funny thing is, I didn't even believe that that was the correct thing to say. So if I don't believe it and I said it, it must have meant that it was supposed to be said. I know that's a little far out, but this teacher was doing much like Brian and I keep forgetting his name. Isn't that something? Jonathan. Brian and Jonathan did was like try on the ideas, because the ideas of, am I sure that I was in control, that I was the decider? Try on both and see how they feel. This is not just a do good feeling, like something you should do just to feel good. It takes care of even remorse and bad feelings, because those are part of life too, just like weather. They were supposed to happen. So if it's true for you, it has to be also true for other people. So if someone yelled at you, if this is true, it's supposed to happen that they yelled at you. They can be sorry, they can make amends, they could do something different. Doesn't mean it will always be that way. So let's just do a little experiment. Listen to their meditation if you don't even listen to the whole podcast. It's wonderful. And right now, I'm just going to do a little one with you to give you the feeling of what this is about, of stepping into what if. What if it's true? Don't try to choose, don't try to decide, but let this be the level of your spiritual life, not the level where you try to make this part of the outer world. It won't work. And then you'll be confused and down to zero. But it will work about the outer work in your reflection of it later. So let's just stay with a short meditation. Jonathan suggested this to Brian, and Brian did a masterful job. So let's start with the weather, right? We know we don't control the weather. And the weather is full of things that we think are good and things we think are bad. But our thoughts don't really matter, right? That's superimposed upon the weather. Now let's start with our eyes open. We see light. Do we make the light happen? Do we make our eyes receive the light if we're seeing, if we have vision? No, we've just been allowed to have receptive eyes and light to see whatever it is we're seeing. Now let's close our eyes and take in the sensory awarenesses. You're hearing me. You didn't create your ears. Did you create what you're hearing? Let's just go down into our hearts. Our hearts are beating. Did you make your heart beat? No, it's happening. Can you imagine if I believed that I controlled my heart? What if you had a wacko parent or guardian and they said, you know, you need to have these many beats a minute to be a good person. And you've been trying all this time to get that to that place. Do you think you'd be successful? But you'd have the belief that you should, that you could, that that would be better. And still, the truth is that you can't control your heartbeat unless you're just doing a temporary exercise, and then you'll go back to your heartbeat. And what if, when we hold ourselves and other people and life in some of this isness, that it is what happened, and leave out the shoulda, the coulda, the blame, the shame, the judgment, the stories, and just live in the isness. If you are trying on isness, and the word I used with Jeanne the Beshared, that it's destiny that it's raining cats and dogs all day in Florida. You could say it's destiny that I'm talking to you. Some days I don't do what I say I'm going to do. How different does it feel to you when you try on destiny about what you did or didn't do? Now, your conditioned self, your old self will say, well, I'm just not going to try, or that's just being irresponsible. But what if it's just being conditioned? What if you're going to do what life wants you to do, just like you're breathing? What if the action comes from something bigger? Could you relax? Could you let go? Could you have a new moment? The important part of this is that it's true for everyone, if it's true at all. The outer world will all have opposites. But this space that views your breathing, that views your words, that views your attitudes, that views your mind, that space is something else that I would love for you to cultivate. Knowing. Let's give it a name. Is it an observer? Is it a witness? If you're going as far as to say it's your true I, then the way to start there is, before you did an action, had a feeling, or had a thought, this was present. So maybe you're more than the action, the thought, the doing. We're not saying you're not going to be responsible, so you can let that mind thing go. You will. Society and your body and the others will all respond to your thoughts, your feelings, your actions. But what if we let in something bigger? And you will be moved in this world. But could we possibly let go of choosing this conditioned idea that we're the one, the separate self that does all of this? Could that be a superimposition to bodies, to personalities, to the world? And does it feel any different to feel like you're the vehicle for life, but not the doer, the controller? Can you let anything go and be even a bigger, kinder, more generous person without all that baggage? Thank you for today. And be sure to catch Brian and Jonathan on Awareness Explorers number 154. And you can get it anywhere you can listen to podcasts. Bye for now. And do let me know your reactions to hearing them. They're a couple of great guys doing amazing work. Bye for now.